Hi, this is Josh Apter on the BeTerrific live broadcast brought to you by the Padcaster. We're at ISTE 2015, day one of the show. It's pretty insane. What would you say about, what have you seen so far?
I'm
just holding my mic out like you don't have one. By the way, this is Doug Robertson. He's going to be a guest of ours right now. He's written books about education.
I have.
You're going to tell us all about yourself, but tell us about the show first.
I will talk about myself for hours and hours, as long as you guys will let me talk.
We got a lot of space to fill. We're live, so. But how are you finding the show to be?
I'm really enjoying the show. It's a little overwhelming right now. I've been comparing it a lot to San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, wow.
It's what it feels like just this giant room full of people who are all into the same thing, but not the same thing.
Everyone here is cosplaying as teachers.
It's the worst cosplay.
And they're so good at it. Like, I mean, these guys look so much like real educators.
I know, it's crazy. I saw a guy in a cape, though, and teachers don't wear capes. That's ridiculous.
Well, actually, I was, my daughter, my 8-year-old daughter, just bleached her hair to dye it blue.
Nice.
So she's halfway there. And then I see yours. Yours is temporary, right?
Well, no, not really.
So that's permanent.
Pretty permanent.
Did you have to bleach it before you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hair's too dark.
All right. So she's going through it now. She's so happy.
And it makes me noticeable. I like Twitter followers and stuff are like, "Hey, you're the weird guy." I'm like, "Yeah, it's the hair. It's working."
Right. Now you're not a weird. You're a normal guy. You come from where?
I come from originally California, and then I taught in Hawaii for a while. Now I'm teaching in Northern Oregon.
Okay,
I teach 5th grade in Oregon.
5th grade. So tell us a little about who you're teaching, what teaching is like in this day and age. I went to school a long time ago. We had slates. We all went to this one room and got hit with, I mean, it was awful. But, tell us about the kind of stuff you teach in 5th grade and what it's like to be an educator today.
See, I just set myself up. I'm just going to start 5th grade in 2 months. I've been teaching 4th grade in Southern Oregon up until now. I don't know where the microphone's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think it's big. They would, believe me, you'd know it if it wasn't.
They would tell us. But teaching is great. I love it. It's the best job in the world. And as far as what it's like to be a teacher right now, a lot of people, the thing that turns me off so much is kids today. People say kids today. I'm like, I don't want to listen to your face anymore. I do not care. Because you don't understand. Kids today are exactly like kids when we were kids, or when you were kids, when you were multiple children. Kids are exactly the same, except they're more connected. They got the phone and stuff, so it's easier for them to listen to music and play games on the bus, and be mean to each other sometimes.
Now, you don't find that kids
really nice.
They're not using those devices in class. Well, 4th grade, probably not allowed, but...
See, my class, the device thing is a little bit of a non-issue because I've always worked in really low-income schools.
Okay.
So parents come in for parent conferences, and one of the first questions I ask is, what's your internet like at home? So I know, like, what can I send home, what kind of online stuff can I expect you to do. I have an online homework blog, all of that kind of stuff. And 80% of my parents hold up a cell phone, and I'm like, this is our internet. This is all we got. This is it. So I'm not really stressed about my kids having devices because, frankly, their families can't afford it.
Right.
I think I'm moving to a higher income next, where my new school is going to be. So the device thing might be more of an issue, but I don't think it's going to. I'm really excited to be able to use all of this stuff that I've been learning because I've been going to a lot of conferences and doing a lot of technology stuff.
Right.
That all has to come out of me. So I have to find the Chromebooks for the classroom. I have to find the iPads. I have to find the devices. So it'd be
the Padcasters
nice.
Too for the video department. Maybe that's a little plug for me.
Nice,
by the way.
I like it.
Now I was at ISTE last year in Atlanta, and I was looking at someone who's an iPad and education stand, and I said, "Wow, it must be so hard. The kids must be so distracted. Like it could be so easy. They could be on YouTube while you're teaching. You don't even know." And she goes, "No. It's better. You just don't understand because you have when we went to school, we just didn't have them. So I look at it as like a layer between the educator and the student." And she says it's absolutely not. It's a facilitator. You have to understand that this is their world, use it in a way that engages them, and it changes. The teaching styles evolve. And just because I don't understand a style that incorporated mobile devices and computers and tablets and things like that, doesn't mean that in the intervening 25 years, they haven't been sort of beautifully and seamlessly integrated into education.
Exactly, and it's keeping them interested because you were screwing around in your pad of paper.
Right.
You were doodling in the margins.
I was totally not. I was paying perfect attention all the time.
Maybe not you. The kid next.
By
to
the
you.
way, my report cards, it was like, you know, do you ever play Wheel of Fortune? Do you watch it?
Yeah.
It's like RSTLNE is now pre. It's like you get that automatically now, because that used to be the first things that everyone would ask for.
Because those are the letters that happen the most.
Yes,
right?
they just, odds are. So my report card just would start with, if Josh only worked to his potential, comma. That was the part that was like written in ink, and then they'd fill out the rest of the report card. It was
mine always said, if I could read your son's handwriting. So typing is wonderful for me, because now it's not a problem. They know what I'm saying.
Did you learn how to type in grade school?
We took computer classes, but I don't think I
type.
really learned how to type until I started doing a bunch of blogging and writing and kind of my own professional development.
So did you take a course in how to type? Did you learn touch typing yourself?
I didn't learn. It's all kind of self-taught. It's just if you want to write a whole bunch, if you've got words in your head, you've got to figure it out. Otherwise, it's going to take you years to write a blog post. So it's just. I still kind of look at the keyboard, but I'm looking at the screen. It's like a mix, and I don't think I'm using the home row right. I'm one of those people who I can touch type, but not.
Right.
It's not correct. But
I mean, you've seen people, they're looking at the screen like they're just, and they don't even look at their hands.
Yeah, hackers in movies do that.
No, people I know who took typing classes when they were in grade school or middle school, like I should have, can just type. Like they don't. It's amazing. They know feel. They know where the placement is of your thumb, I guess, and then everything else works. It's amazing.
I can't. I can do that a little bit, but not great.
Yeah.
It works. So I get by.
Back to you getting into. So you're going to go to a different school.
Back to me.
Fifth grade, and what are you going to be teaching these guys?
Everything.
So in fifth grade, you're...
Fifth grade, fifth grade is still you're teaching everything. I think my school has a music teacher. I think we have an art teacher, and I think we have a PE teacher, so I don't get to do those this year. And it is a get to. My last school, like I said, was real low income, so we didn't have any of that. So I got to be the PE teacher, which means I got to do all kinds of fun. I taught them hockey. I taught a bunch of little Mexican kids who never played hockey, never watched hockey, taught them how to play hockey. And then I decided I wanted to do a soccer lesson. But me teaching a soccer lesson is like Justice Scalia teaching a morals lesson. You don't really have a good grip on you know it exists, but you don't know anything about it. Live.
You read his dissent this morning or something?
But I had two kids in my class who were on a soccer team and were really good. So they did my soccer program for 5 weeks. Once a week, they taught everybody soccer, and it was so cool for all of the kids to be taught by their peers, and I got to learn a little bit about soccer. And then at the end of the year, we did a dance unit. I'd never taught dance before. On YouTube, finding dance tutorials, and we danced to, we can't dance to normal songs. This is the Weird teacher.
Right.
So we danced to, we made up a dance to Fat, the Weird Al song. And they learned Thriller. They learned the kind of a modified version of the Thriller dance.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun.
Wow.
It was good stuff.
So do you get to choreograph, like, how many kids are we talking about doing the Thriller dance?
25, 26.
Is that the class size typically?
That was my class size last year. Kind of fluctuated, a couple kids in and out during the year, but 25 to 28.
So just so a point of reference, my kid just graduated, my oldest graduated grade school, 5th grade this year, and each class is about 33 kids.
Wow.
And he was lucky there were 2 teachers in his class because it was the CTT class that everyone rotates into a CTT in 1 or so years. It means nothing except that everyone has to rotate through one.
What, CTT?
It's sort of a specialized, so there might be some kids who require extra attention, but it doesn't mean that it's a group of kids that all do, but it gets another teacher. So 2 of the classes had 1 teacher for 33 kids, and his class luckily had 2 teachers for 33, but it's still, I mean,
that's a ton of kids, and that's a lot of bodies. And 5th grade bodies are big, smelly bodies sometimes.
And easily distracted bodies, and curious. They're all just there. You can see, like, the kids are just like exploding with like the world around them and independence. They got to go out to lunch once a week. In New York City, they get to go within a certain 3-block radius and go out to lunch to a restaurant on Wednesdays.
During school, that's so cool.
And in middle school next year, nope, they want to know where all the kids are.
It makes sense, though, too, right?
Yeah, but they give them so they have more.
They take away freedom.
They take away freedom,
which doesn't make any sense.
Right. Well, this
I retract
also
my previous statement.
His middle school is I think it's 4 times the size of his grade school class, so it's big, and they have to split them into houses first, and then into 30 some
like
odd.
Hufflepuff and Slytherin.
Exactly. Except this is the MS-104 house.
It's not as fun. They gotta
come up
they
with
need robes and scarves and owls.
Well, it's going to be a very exciting time for him, and then he's going to start getting into girls, and then it's going to be just I don't even want to know.
No. I'm lucky. I got 2 boys, and I was excited to have a girl. We didn't find out, but I was like, there's so much with a girl that we have to. It feels so different to have to raise a girl rather than raising a boy.
So your youngest is a girl?
No, my youngest is a boy. We have 2 boys.
Oh, so you didn't have to raise a girl?
We don't have to raise a girl, but we didn't find out what either of them were going to be until they were here.
The stress of
so
thinking.
I had the whole time like, I wonder, talking to my wife about what's it like to be a little girl. And
by the way, I have a girl in the middle. I have a boy, girl, boy, and the middle girl, Angel.
Easiest.
The boys are like
live TV.
They're like rabid spider monkeys. I don't even know how else to describe them. I told someone raising these 3 kids, it's like the opening of Saving Private Ryan all the time. Bullets flying, I'm just freaking out. I just want to duck for cover till it passes, and if I get hit with something, I'm dead.
My 2.5-year-old is figuring out how to throw like accurately now. He's not just tossing stuff in the air. So every time he comes near us with a thing in his hand, we're like,
he'll get you too.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Wait till he's 4, and when he punches straight out, it's right at that level. I get hit in the genitals more.
All the time.
This has to go live. This happens to me more than I care to say. And
stepped on all the time. Come sit on Daddy's lap.
He just wants to hug me, and it's just wham. So that's no good. But I've got 11, 8, and 4, and so you've got a 2 and a.
I got 2.5 and a 5-month.
Oh, so you're just starting out.
Brand new, yeah.
Oh my gosh, so
we got a long way to go.
You're in diapers. That's great.
Still doing diapers.
Yeah, when I realized I was out of diapers, I was like, I'll never be out of diapers because I just like crapping myself. I enjoy it. It saves so much time. It happened so gradually that at one point, 3 weeks had gone by and my youngest son hadn't, and I said, wait a minute, I think I might have changed my last diaper of my entire life, and I had done it for, it must have been 8 years of my life, changing diapers many times a day. I wasn't one of those dads who was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna."
Yeah, me too. You got to get in there.
My dad and all of his contemporaries. Oh, we didn't do diapers, as they said. I don't even know how you would stay married. Murdered and then divorced. Yeah. Justifiably murdered.
Yeah.
You have to get in there. And so
we should talk about teaching.
Oh, geez.
We're live.
We're talking about kids and parenting, which is
like teaching.
But I want to talk about you wrote a book.
I did.
And I want you to plug your book on the show.
I wrote 2 books, but I'm going to plug the first one.
By the way, thanks for redirecting the host.
This is He's the Weird Teacher. It's my first book. It's not, a lot of people write like how to teach fraction books, those kind of things, and this is very much not that. Mm-hmm. This is why to teach fractions, how to think about teaching, and it's the joy of teaching. It's how much fun teaching is, how much fun kids are. Because like I said at the beginning, this is the best job. So it's a bunch of funny stories, stuff that kids have done in my classroom that I feel like either people can relate to or you're like, you'll never believe. Because I think every teacher has a bunch of stories that will make you cry and will hopefully make you laugh, especially if you've ever been around kids or in a classroom.
Sure.
So it's a lot of those, and then it's a lot of just motivational. This is why you should be teaching. This is how we should be thinking about teaching. Teaching should be a joyful thing for you and for them. Everybody needs to enjoy this, and ways that I do it. Mm-hmm. And when I wrote it, I wrote it because I had a student teacher, and my teaching style had always worked for me. And having a student teacher was like an experiment. Will this work for another human being, or am I insane in my own little bubble? Because classrooms are all just a little bubble.
Right.
And it worked for Bethany. She started teaching the way I teach in her own way, and it worked. Her classroom was my classroom was responding. And then I got a second student teacher, and it worked for Matt. I was like, oh, I'm not a crazy person. So that's what spurred the book. And when you write a book, you assume that like your mom will read it, and maybe your best friend will skim it.
How many people have have read this book?
I don't know, but way more than I ever expected.
That's great.
It's really exciting. I get to do professional developments because of the book.
Oh, that's terrific.
Uh,
are you going to speak at places like this about the book?
I'm doing a session tonight, on using puppets in the classroom. I have a puppet named Corson that teaches my kids. Last year he taught him grammar and stuff. So today I'm doing puppets and technology, and Corson is in the book. I talk about using the puppet. But I've done a couple of professional developments, like in Tennessee and in Mississippi. I'm starting to travel around a little bit and do that on the side, which is a lot of fun. I just recently discovered how much fun teaching teachers is. It's all an offshoot out of the book. Like, teachers will learn from me too, and it's the same skill set, but it's a very different use of the skill set because you cannot teach adults like you can teach children. Some of the tricks work, but you got to do a lot of modifying. When I was a teenager, I taught swim lessons. That's kind of when I realized this is what I have to do. And I taught kids. You teach little kids.
What was it about teaching swimming where the light bulb went off? This is what I have to do.
Because the kids were so much fun. I had never spent a ton of time around little ones, and I was like, I like little ones better than I like grown-ups. Little ones are way more fun. Kids are so interesting, and they're so funny, and they're so goofy, and they're not too cool for anything.
How old are these kids? They must have been young if they didn't know how to swim, right?
Yeah. Well, I taught parent taught, which is brand new, all the way up through 10, 11, 12-year-olds.
There's
So
something
kind of
also about how
range.
they really need you as a swim teacher. There's this real sort of base dependence. They'll drown.
Yeah.
You're teaching them something fun and something that they'll use for the rest of their lives, but that will also save their life.
So, and you learn, I'm actually a patient human. I didn't know that I was a patient human. But then you have a 5-year-old monkey clawed onto you, screaming in your ear that he doesn't want to go underwater for 10 minutes, and you're not freaking out about it. Oh, I'm more patient than I thought, with at least a child.
Right.
But part of being a swim lesson teacher was occasionally I would teach the parent, not the parent, the adult swim lessons.
Okay.
And no judgment, but adults who can't swim is a weird thing for me because I've always been water. I don't remember never being able to swim. Able to be able to swim.
You don't remember being unable to swim.
Yeah, there we go. Verbally editing on air.
We'll cut this down. Don't worry. It's going to be about a 90-second interview.
I get it. I've done the news before. I understand.
It's all live. They can't cut anything. Watch what you say.
Curses.
Weird teacher.
But you can't teach adults like you teach. You can't be like, we're gonna blow bubbles now. Why?
No, there's nothing more patronizing and annoying than someone who treats adults like kids.
Right. So having to take all of that skill set and flip it so it works for adults was a fun teaching challenge that now I get to use again as someone presenting to adults and making stuff that work with kids.
Right.
Translate that without losing any of the fun and the weirdness and the enthusiasm.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The consistent is the enthusiasm. Whether you're teaching someone who's 90 years old or 9 years old, you can tell, and I've seen an array of teachers at my son's school, you can tell when someone's genuinely passionate about teaching and when someone's just beat up about, they just feel like they're exasperated all the time.
Yeah.
And this may not be the right job for them because you have to be able to sort of understand the relationship and figure out why you're getting frustrated or tired and work through that. And the best teachers that I've seen have been the ones that they have this contagious enthusiasm, this love of it, and everyone just kind of catches on and it turns into this thing that goes on all day long.
And there's always, even the most excited teacher in the world has dips. There's hard times. The kids are really hard, or the test is coming up, or everybody bombed this lesson that you thought was going to go. And there's lots of peaks and valleys. And the enthusiastic teachers, the one who are supposed to be in the classroom or that really feel it, find a way to bounce out of that and learn from that or change something.
Sure.
Last year, my classroom was real hard, very challenging group. Great kids, loved the kids, but real talkative group, kind of on the struggling with a lot of the academics, kind of as a whole. So I had to get creative. I couldn't do some of the stuff that I could normally do just because of the behavior things that were happening. So I got to get real creative with it. And one of the things that I did that I stole from Jess Lifshitz, who's amazing on Twitter, and you should follow her at Jess Lifshitz, I think.
You got to spell that for the audience.
L-I-F.
Does she link from your blog?
If you tweet at me at The Weird Teacher, I will hook you up with Jess because she's awesome.
At The Weird Teacher's easy.
That one's easy. Yeah. And then I will hook you up with Jess because she's awesome. And she's going to be mad at me for forgetting her at name. But she clued me into what she was doing in her classroom, and she had started changing the level of her desks and getting alternative seating for her kids. It's like, that's a great idea, but I'm not good at a little bit. So I took the legs off of all of my desks. So all of my kids were sitting on the floor, except for one who wanted to stand. So instead of taking the legs off her desk, I raised it as high as I could. So I had 24 kids sitting on the ground and one kid like looming over them. And that was a lot of fun. And then I went to Goodwill and I bought a bunch of pillows so the kids could sit on some pillows and be comfortable. And then I found out what Donors Choose is. And I did a Donors Choose thing and I got beanbag chairs and Wobble Stools. Do you know what a Wobble Stool is?
No.
It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a regular stool, but it's got like a rounded bottom. So your fidgety kids will sit, but they can move and they can spin, but they're still sitting at a desk.
Right, and they're actually using there's an outlet for that fidgety.
Exactly. They're able to do what they need to do, and they're able to do what I need them to do.
Yep.
So and all kinds of alternative seating, and it changed my classroom, like 180 degrees.
Wow.
And it was so cool. And I didn't know how it was going to work. I told the kids before we did it, we might hate this. This might last for a week, and then I'm putting the legs back on your desk. We're going back into those stupid plastic chairs. Never put them back on. Some of the kids, you have to be flexible with it because some kids sitting on the floor is not always comfortable, right? So every kid probably just about over the next 5 months or however long it was would like, Mr. Robertson, can I try standing desk? Sure. So at recess, I throw the legs back on their desk. They try standing desk for a few days. Can I try regular desk again? Yeah, sure.
By the way, our friends next door at Very Desk, you wouldn't even have to do anything.
I see that.
You just
Very nice.
You just lift it up, and they're like, "Can I stand today? Can I sit today?" Sometimes the students sit on the floor, so that's an issue because this doesn't go floor to standing height in one shot.
You just got to take it off of the table and put it on the floor.
It's 45 pounds. It weighs about as much as one of your students. You get 3 or 4 of them, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
I'll make the kids do it. That's way more fun. That's PE.
Right. That's PE.
Pick up your desk 7 times.
I found out recently that my neighbor started Donors Choose. Is that the name?
Your neighbor started Donors Choose?
Yeah, I had no idea. I saw.
Give him a hug for me, like big flying squirrel hug.
So how does it work? And it's good, right?
It's awesome. I really like it. So you go onto the website and you have to set up a project. And so I get my kids alternative seating is what I call it. And you have to write justification. Why should you give me money for this project? And then Donors Choose is linked to a whole bunch of websites. They're linked to Amazon and Scholastic and I don't know, like a dozen websites they're linked to. And then you go to Amazon, let's say, and you create a shopping list. So I want 2 beanbag chairs, I want 4 wobble stools, I want blah, 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 blah. And that shopping list goes to Donors Choose.
And they will finance this initiative?
No.
Oh, okay, so...
And then you go on social media and you go to law offices because they like giving money to teachers.
Okay.
You go on Facebook, you bother your friends and your family, and you say, can you donate to my Donors Choose? It's kind of like Kickstarter. Give me $1. Give me $5.
Do you not get any of the money if you don't reach a certain goal, or do you...
You have to reach whatever. So my Donors Choose was a little expensive. It was $800.
Okay, and if you get $759,
you don't get
anything. That's
right,
okay.
Which is but you've got, I think, 14 days or maybe a couple, I don't know exactly. Mine funded really fast. I got awesome Twitter followers and friends and family, so mine funded really fast. But you get X amount of time, and then you don't see the money, which is my favorite part, because I will lose the money. I'm not good at that.
Right.
Like, I don't send home Scholastic News with my students because I hate
So it's like, it just goes into the account from which you
It goes
can
into the Donors Choose account.
Yeah.
And then once you hit your $800 or whatever, Donors Choose orders from Amazon, and that sends to you.
That's
so
great.
you never see the money.
But you don't need to. You're looking for goods in the first place.
And it just shows, one day it's like Christmas in your classroom, and you get just a ton of books or Chromebooks or chairs or whatever, and it's really cool.
Well, let's talk about your blog a little bit. I know you want to walk around the show. I won't keep you too long. They said 15 minutes. We must have been going for how long have we been going? That's a half an hour? Holy mac. Well, why don't you have this? Take the next 4 minutes to talk about your blog, because you said you post very often. You've got a popular blog.
I do post very often.
So talk about it.
My blog is he'stheweirdteacher.blogspot.com.
Okay. That means it's on Blogger or...
Blogger, yeah, it's a Blogger account.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, I should talk about the other blog. I'm sorry.
You got two blogs.
Well, I just got a new job, a second job. I'm the blog editor for Q.
Oh, right. You were okay.
So it's q.org.
Q.org. The letter Q.
No, C-U-E.
Oh,
Q.
The whole. I was like, I'm gonna. In my mind, I got a 50% chance of getting that right. So cue.org.
Yes.
And then where do they find you?
They found me kind of through all of the writing that I do, and I've presented at a few Q Rockstar conferences, which is it's the coolest conference, because you know a lot of conferences you go and it's like an hour-long session, and then you leave and you're like, those were great ideas, and then you don't do anything when you get back to class because you're just overwhelmed with stuff. Rockstar is 2 sessions a day, and they're both 2 hours long. And the presenter only talks, the lead learner is what they call it, only talks for 40 minutes. So it's like, I'm going to teach you about Google Drive. And I'm going to do a quick little thing about Google Drive. And then together, for the next hour, we're going to build something on Google, and you're going to learn how to use this program.
In a big group, or is this supposed to be a smaller?
The classes range anywhere from, I've had 2 people in a session on a Wednesday afternoon after lunch when everybody's going home, to 20 people in a session. So it kind of ranges, but it's really cool. It's a great conference, and right now they're mostly West Coast, but I think they're starting to branch out a little bit. So Q Rockstar is a great. It's really good.
And you blog for them exclusively, or do you have your own blog?
I have my own blog where I'll write. My personal writing is probably going to drop off a lot. I have a Twitter chat called #WeirdEd on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard.
Okay.
And I write a blog before every chat to kind of like introduce people to the topic and stuff like. I create a lot of content.
So you've been doing a weekly blog post for how many years?
For the Twitter chat, just over a year and maybe a month or so.
I've tried.
It's a lot of writing.
It's incredibly hard to write consistently.
And to have an idea every week. But my chat is really weird. I don't know if you pay attention to Twitter chat or know what a chat is.
Well, there's a Twitter chat. I own a post-production training school, film editing school, and there's a group called Post Chat, and they talk all about editing, and they do post chats every week, same kind of thing. And it's funny because I participated in it when I didn't realize I wasn't going to be speaking. I'm just going to be messaging the whole time. And it's strange because the lag was weird for me. I didn't understand that by the time I was done answering the question that had been asked, 5 other new questions had been asked, and it's impossible to.
It's hard to keep up. Yeah. TweetDeck.
Tweet what?
TweetDeck.
TweetDeck.
For Twitter chats makes it 100 times easier.
Yeah, but you still have to answer the idea in real time.
Yeah, you still got to be on top of it, which is hard with little ones.
And again, you type self-taught well. I'm like do, and so you can imagine.
It's taking you a long time. But a lot of ed chats are kind of boring or dry.
Right.
The main ed chat, I have a big problem with. I think they're really boring and they never tackle interesting topics anymore. Mine, we try to have a little bit of fun. So last week, we talked about Charleston and the tragedy in Charleston because as teachers, we cannot pretend that is not a real thing that will affect us in our classrooms and our students.
Sure.
So we need to talk about that. We need to debrief and where is everybody feeling with this, and how are you even gonna deal with this in your classroom? But another week, we're gonna talk about narwhals, and I'm going to be creative enough to make you relate narwhals to education, and it's gonna work, and you're gonna really enjoy it. So that's kind of what my chat is. So I write that about once a week.
Right.
And then the Q thing I start in July. So my first post will be up in a few days.
Oh, great.
And I'm looking for contributors to write for me. So if you have any topic about education that you want to pitch to me, at The Weird Teacher. Please, please, please tweet at me.
We have a lot, obviously, to say about iPads in education.
And I need you guys to write for me. I would be more than happy to get 800 words about how you can use iPads in education. That would be awesome.
I could send you a video. It'd be so much easier.
A video? I'll put videos up. I mean, we're tech now. It doesn't have to be text anymore. I like text personally.
If the weekly chat were like a, sort of even like a voice-only Google Hangout, somebody you could come in and voices could be heard. I feel like a larger conversation, which you'd have to control access, because then you've got like, basically it's like some.
Right, Twitter chats, there's disadvantages to the Twitter chat. The 140 character thing is a disadvantage.
But it's also orderly. It's
a little easier to, big giant Google Hangouts it's hard to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So, and I think in text better than like in a Google, if that makes sense.
Well, you tend to compose your thoughts
when
you're composing your thoughts and not just blurting
everything. And in Twitter, you
can
talk over each other, and it doesn't feel like you're talking over each other because you type and somebody else types, and then you can see both posts.
Well, that's the thing. By the time I have a snappy answer to somebody's thing, it's like George Costanza. It's like 2 days later, I'm like, the jerk factory call. Like, I just can't. So, because I type so slow, it's like, it's not relevant anymore.
Right.
My witticism is like
gone.
past
Guys,
day,
remember that thing that you said 10 minutes ago? I got a thing.
No, it's below the line. What are you talking about? It's like, so.
So I'll be writing for Q and I'll be editing other people's work, and they're calling me their social media champion, which is the best.
It's pretty good. Going on a card? Is that going to be?
I have business cards in my pocket that say blog editor and social media champion. So awesome. I'll be like, whenever they come up with a video or something, they send it to me and I compose. They call it an artifact, so it's like a tweet and what's going on Google Plus and what's going on Facebook, all of that stuff. I kind of write the kicker for that to get people to look at it, rather than this is a video of so and so speaking about blah blah blah.
Right.
Anybody can do that. They're like, we want a little more voice. We want it to be a little more interesting.
Well, the great thing will be, not that you not being weird isn't great, but like that more people will take an innovative approach to what you do, so that it doesn't make, you know what I mean? Like what your thing, I don't want to say it won't be weird, but it'll be weird and universally understood to be a better method.
Which is one thing that
Here, let's plug the book because we're going to close up soon.
Which is one thing I wasn't expecting with the book. Like I said, I just wrote it because I needed to write a book.
Right.
And there are so many weird teachers in the world. Like, constantly people are coming up to me. I thought I was the only weird teacher.
Right.
I didn't realize that there were so many. And the chat is one of those places where all of these people come together. And suddenly they're like, there's a lot of us. And we're all, and the weird starts to feed off each other, and the creativity gets bigger and
I'm sure
bigger.
You get ideas from one another too.
And
share ideas, and it's
one person is creative, but two creative people together, working collaboratively and bouncing off each other, and stealing ideas. Like, okay, you're gonna do that, but what you just said made me think of this other thing that I'm going to do. And our group is very much a yes, go do that thing that might fail. I do all the time. I do stuff in my classroom that the back of my head is like, this is going to explode and crash and fall and sink into the swamp. Like, that's what's going to happen. I messed that quote up.
But it's only the future of our children at stake, so why not roll the dice?
When it plays... And it plays so often, it plays so well. So, and when it doesn't play, you get to improv, and you get to dance, and you can be like, oh, this didn't work, but I think I can make it work if I do this, and I pull in this. And, or sometimes you go, we're going to stop. This didn't work at all, you guys. We're going to stop, we're going to try something else. And when you stop a lesson in the middle, there's a YouTube clip and a GIF. It's GIF, not GIF. Of a cat strapped, I swear this relates, of a cat strapped to the chest of a skydiver. And it's the funniest GIF you've ever seen, because the cat is already unhappy, strapped to the chest of this person.
Why not?
And then the guy walks to the door and the cat starts freaking out. And then he jumps out and you can see the poor cat like, whoa!
Oh my gosh.
And that's what children look like when you're in the middle of a lesson and you stop. What? Teachers don't stop in the middle. Don't you have everything planned out to, And it's great. It's so much fun to watch them be confused, but that's still a learning opportunity. Like, sometimes things don't work. Sometimes you need to change. And sometimes things don't work so much that you just need to stop. And that's a valuable lesson. It's super important.
Well, things have worked here very well.
I had a great
We're still
time.
going to stop, but not because they're not working, but because you have to see the rest of the show.
I do.
Doug, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, our 15 minutes just turned into like a 45-minute segment. I hope we're still live. Go buy Doug's book. He's the Weird Teacher.
He's the Weird Teacher. And I have a second one called The Teaching Text. You're welcome.
All right.
Which is a satire.
Find you online at The Weird Teacher on Twitter.
At The Weird Teacher on the tweets. You can find me, everything else I do from there.
All right, we're going to take a short break. This is Josh Apter from the Padcaster, powering what is left of the BeTerrific live broadcast from ISTE 2015. It looks like we're doing okay. All right, we'll be back in a minute. You guys got to tell me when we're clear.